This week's episode of Walking the Earth podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. For our listeners, you can go and get a free trial and a free audiobook just by signing up at audibletrial.com/WTE podcast. For getting your book, you can help support the show, and you can find any title pretty much underneath the sun, including Raisin in the Sun, which is a book that I know my friends and Mike had to read in high school. So feel free to check it out again at audibletrial.com/WTE podcast. And don't forget to rate us on iTunes. Just by rating us there and giving us a review, you help to get WTE in front of numerous listeners across the country and across the world. So again, please go to iTunes and give us a rating. All right, on with the show. Previously on Walking the Earth podcast, Mike and I sit down with Arpit Bansal, an Indian traveler who shares his stories about his voyage to Turkana, an oasis in the middle of the African desert. In part 2 of our conversation, it starts to take an interesting turn. He starts to share his experiences and difficulties of traveling as an Indian backpacker, and we start to compare and contrast his experiences with those of Mike, who's a Westerner traveler. So strap yourselves in, sit tight. Here is part 2 of our conversation with Arpit Bansal. Enjoy.
Another thing, Arpit, that you mentioned you want to talk about, and I think it would be a really cool topic, is, your backpack. I'm backpacking as like a Western person, and a lot of the guests on the show similar situation to me. And I know for you, being from India, you encounter a lot different kind of scenarios that people like me, for example, won't encounter. And I'd love to, hear you share some of that perspective.
Right. Yeah. Do you have any contrast to the Westerner traveler, I suppose?
Yes. I would love to talk about this topic because I often look for such content, but there's very, very limited content because there's not many backpackers from our country. There are no backpackers somehow, because whenever I used to visit these places, people have never seen an Indian backpacker before. They were so surprised on so many levels that they never used to believe me that I'm a traveler and I have no intentions other than traveling that place. I had to so many times prove myself that I'm not here for business. I'm not hiding from some organization. I'm not hiding myself. I'm not a refugee. I'm just a backpacker. Though it is very easy for a Westerner to just say, or maybe he don't even have to say that he's a traveler, because people just know that they just expect Germans and Israelis and Americans to travel the world. They expect them to travel the world. They don't expect.
Yeah, you walk around with white skin, European or American or Australian or something, and it's I
don't know how many examples I have. There are. But particularly, there are 2 countries I want to talk about. One is Mozambique. Mozambique is in the southern part of Africa. One of the very, very beautiful countries, but colonized by Portugal. So it still have a lot of influence of Portugal culture. Their language is also Portuguese.
Okay.
And also one of the toughest country to enter. Like, it is one of the easily toughest country to enter. But if you are from India, we don't even have an option of traveling actually Mozambique, and that is how I actually started thinking about Mozambique, because when I reached there, I was like, I have to enter this country where nobody from my country is actually allowed.
Yeah.
So, why not? Let me see. I started calling the embassies. They said there's no tourist visas. I said, why don't you have the tourist visas? And they said, no, they don't have a tourist visa. I started reading online about the treaties which were signed between India and Mozambique, and I found this somewhere. I found this article somewhere where it was said that India has actually signed a treaty with Mozambique about the tourism, and India. And then I called Indian High Commission and I said that, do you allow people from Mozambique to visit India? And they said, yeah. I mean, they do. If somebody applied from Mozambique. Then I filed a question to from Africa. I filed a question in the High Commission of India, asking that what should I do when a country, even after signing the treaty, is not allowing me in the country. And then they said I have to find a proof. So I went to Mozambique again. I filed for the visa again. They denied me again. Then I started having I was roaming around between one high commission to another embassy. I started showing them the treaty, the papers signed, the treaties. Then I got this letter from High Commission of India requesting Mozambique High Commission that you have to allow this guy. Then they said they agreed on the transit visa. Then I said, why transit visa? Because India gives you a valid visa, and it was a long process.
Wow.
I had this huge fight among the High Commission. Then finally, you would believe that the time when I got the visa from Mozambique finally. This is how this lady who was sitting on the counter. She gave me my passport, and she said, never come back to my embassy again.
What?
This is how she gave me my passport.
Wow.
Trust me.
Are you serious?
And, yeah, I'm serious, dude. I'm damn serious right here.
Well, so you got in. I mean, that's...
I finally
after fighting with embassies and.
I mean, I was
Wow.
so thorough with the process of High Commission embassies that people in a foreign country in Africa, the two High Commission people actually start knowing me. Like the guards on the doorstep stopped like checking me because he know that I come every 2 hours. I'm coming, and for days I've been just roaming around the High Commission.
So with that said, is it? It sounds. Is this? Can I generalize that it's considerably harder to get into certain places compared to a Westerner traveler? Or is it just this is just one of those places? Is this a unique case, or is this a frequent thing?
It's quite a frequent thing. To prove that, I will tell you something about Malawi. You know Malawi? It's a country again in Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Quite a beautiful country, and it's very popular among the Western world to travel Malawi. For example, Malawi is one of the most chosen destination for Germans to travel, and Americans and Japanese are even allowed in Malawi without even a visa. They don't even have to pay for their visa to enter Malawi. So with the same consent, I started walking towards the Malawi border, and it took me. It's a long ride. It was one of the most toughest ride, as tough as the Turkana ride to reach Malawi border, because it was a tough journey, and there's got some of the accidents which happened with me on my journey to Malawi border. But finally, when I reached Malawi border, there was a list shown to me on the border. They showed me a list on which there were 7 countries, there were 7 or 9 countries which were written. The name of the countries were Afghanistan, Iraq, Iran, Pakistan, and India.
Oh.
That the people from these countries are not allowed to enter
Wow.
Wow.
the country. And I'm stunned. I was like, I'm standing here on the border. I don't know how many days it took me to reach here.
Yeah.
And now so they said, okay, so they have this policy. They said, we are not denying you the visa, but you have to go to Dar es Salaam. Dar es Salaam is a place in Tanzania. It's a port town. It's a very beautiful town in Tanzania. They said, I have to go to Dar es Salaam, and then there is an office there in Dar es Salaam. They said, I have to go there, ask a permission there. They will permit me. I have to pay a fee there in Dar es Salaam. Then they'll give me a letter. And if I get that letter, then they will allow me to the country. And I said, excuse me, I'm standing on this border right now. Dar es Salaam is at least 3 days far from this place. And you're telling me that I have to go there to take this letter. And they actually even showed me the sample of the letter. There's nothing written on the letter. There was just written that, please allow this guy to enter the country. Something like that. Like, it's a very basic letter written.
Oh, blowing up.
Cell phones.
Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
So,
No worries.
This
dude.
is not the first, and it won't be the last time that happens.
Yes. So it was very tough on Malawi border. I was able to finally. I don't know how many details am I supposed to give on this podcast, because there's just too many things which
but this is really
somehow I can't even share. Which happened
Yeah.
between me and the officials there, and.
But this is an interesting picture that we don't really hear that often, is the inability to travel between different countries and the limitations that are set on your country versus a American passport or a Canadian passport. So
Very big
I
disparity,
mean,
man.
there's so many passports. The Indian passport could be easily one of the toughest passports, dude. When you are an Indian backpacker, um, like I don't know, well, sometimes I think now I know that why there are not many Indian backpackers, because it is not an easy life ahead. It's a tough decision, and I'm sure there are many people who are really want to be a backpacker from India, and when
Yeah.
they started, they eventually stopped because it's not easy to survive as an Indian backpacker.
Yeah.
You have been stereotyped at too many places. I've been stopped in Mozambique. I've been stopped by the army, and they keep telling me, they used to call me terrorist, and
What?
telling them that I'm not.
Wow.
Yes, they used to call me terrorist, and I said I'm not a terrorist, sir. I'm sorry. And they start taking out everything from my bag. They even looked the the insides of my bag, which are stitched, right?
Right.
Like
The
like there's a
lining.
cushion. There's cushion for my back in my backpack. They actually cut that cushion because they think that there could be some drugs inside those
They
cushions.
cut your backpack. They
Yes, dude,
sliced
my
it.
back. Yes,
Wow.
they sliced.
Huh.
Uh, I had, I don't know how many times I had to bribe in order to release myself, even though my papers was accurate. There's nothing wrong in my documents. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm not carrying anything which was illegal, and yet I have to bribe in order, because I was not able to explain in their language that I'm not a terrorist. Because
Uh,
uh, there's a good story you won't believe. I was sitting in, and it happened with me on the airport. Uh, uh, on my flight back from to the country to India, when I was coming back from Africa, on my flight, uh, this air hostess was serving liquor, and the guy who was traveling with me, we both were sitting there, and he asked for a beer, and she denied him. In the flight, that air hostess, she said, "No, you are a Muslim. You should not drink alcohol." And he said, "No, I'm not Muslim, but it's not your concern. If I'm asking for a beer, you're supposed to give me the beer."
right.
She eventually didn't give him the alcohol. She said, "No, it is against us to give alcohol to a Muslim." And
Huh.
he
Oh,
kept saying it. And she even said it on our faces that we are lying. We are denying that we are Muslims, because she said, "No, no, don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. You are Muslim. You are Muslim." And we are stunned. We're like, even if we are Muslims, I mean, it is just so wrong to
yeah, it's your
say such
choice.
Right.
things.
It's your choice, right? It's your
Yeah,
choice. If
I
you
mean, it is just too wrong to say such things.
right.
yeah.
So
It's
because
go ahead.
yeah,
It's just
actually,
hard.
Justin, what happens is that when we were backpacking, you, of course, you don't look too apt. You have the long beard. Your clothes are a little dirtier than
Yeah.
usual. You're not,
Uh-huh.
of course, very well dressed.
I
But
see.
when you are a white guy, you can actually look cool when you are a backpacker. But
Like
when you're
Right.
my
not a white guy, you look terrorist when you're a backpacker. There's a
Yeah,
oh
that's
difference.
funny. Yeah, I was looking. I was just going around. Like, yeah, I have, long hair now, and I had a real
Yes,
long beard when I was
but
traveling around India.
you
I'm,
look
I'm,
cool.
you look
yeah,
cool.
walking around with and just like t-shirts and shorts and
Yes,
sandals, like just really grungy looking, and like, yeah, it's just like
yes,
it's cool. You're a white guy for sure. You get away with that, and people are like, yeah,
yes.
you
But when you see a guy from India in the similar dresser, it's not very widely accepted,
Okay.
and
right.
That's interesting.
and you get a lot of trouble. I for example,
And,
initially I
and
was not
actually,
even
like
sharing
even
my
I
bag.
remember even like within India though, it was funny because like I was walking around in shorts and t-shirts and like my Indian friends I was meeting, everyone's wearing like jeans and button-down shirts and
Yeah,
everything. And I remember some of my friends were like, "Yeah, sorry." I would ask like, "Why are you wearing jeans and like a long shirt?" Like man, I can't dress like that. Like I would look bad if I dressed like you're dressing right now. I'm like, really? Like it's like even like within India, it's kind of like that kind of thing. It's interesting
Huh.
and.
yeah. I mean, within India, it may be because it's people generally don't walk around during the daytime. They can probably walk around during the night times. It's a different thing. But when
Mm,
you are backpacking, when you're traveling, you really have to prove a lot of times that you are just a traveler and you
Right.
have no intentions.
right.
I've been stopped by custom people. I don't know how many times I have to empty my bag like completely in order to prove that I'm not carrying drugs. And
Wow.
I
Yeah.
don't have guns. I've been asked to show my gun, and I said, "Gun? I'm sorry, I don't have a gun." And they said, "No, no,
Yeah.
show me your gun." I said, "I don't have a gun, sir. I'm
That's
sorry."
that's just crazy. That's just odd to me. That's just I mean, it's I feel
That
upset.
happened
I
in
feel
Tanzania,
upset.
Tanga.
It did, okay.
There's a place called Tanga. It's a port town in Tanzania. It's a very beautiful town, actually.
Mm-hmm.
So that is where it happened to me when they asked me to show my gun, and I said I don't have a gun. So
It sounds like almost like a racism, so to speak, right? Isn't
Yeah,
it?
definitely.
That's
so
what it is.
it's like a different. Justin, what happens is because it's very new, right? They don't know. They're actually I won't say it's racism. I'll say um, it's I don't know how should I say it. I mean, they don't believe you because they
Right.
haven't seen any such thing.
Right.
It's more about trust. They don't trust you because probably some incidents must have happened in the past, or
Right.
because maybe we have such looks.
Right.
But it is. I would just want to prove a point that it is little different for an Indian to backpack than a Westerner.
And you're different, and now that they don't see them that often because you're not allowed in those places. So you are rare. You are a rarity.
Yeah.
You are very rare.
Very
to
rare.
them. And
like in Malawi, when I checked into this one of the backpackers hostel, it was owned by a German guy. He was an old guy, very old guy, and he was so happy to see me. He said, like, he just loved me so much. He said, "You are the first Indian backpacker he has seen. He always wanted to travel to India, and he had one of the very best friends from India when he was young, and haven't been connecting with any Indians." And he said, "I'm just like I'm." He actually said those words. I don't know how much he mean that, but he said, "I'm bored of seeing the white guys in my hostel." He actually said that.
yeah.
And,
I was happy to meet you too in Krabi. I was like, oh yes, I got to reminisce about India with you. I was like, oh yes.
Yeah.
Good to.
That's very cool.
It is nice, and you meet someone who's not has so many backpackers. Yeah, it's the Americans, Australian, European, Western kind of folks, and
sometimes it feels good. I feel nice about it sometimes. Like, nice.
Yeah, it's nice. It is true though, man. It's just like it is a lot easier for, say, a backpacker like me to get around for so many reasons too, right? Like, my passport, American passport, is just easier to get around different countries. Other factors come into play too, like exchange rates, for example. I earn money in a U.S. dollar, and I convert it out, right? And I convert to Thai baht, and I'm great. You're coming from India to Thailand, and all of a sudden for you, it's like the opposite of for me. Like when you go to Thailand, the price is doubled for you versus
And also, I have to pay the transaction conversion charges so many times. Like for example, in Africa, I most of the time I had to convert my currency to dollars and then dollars to their currency because they were not converting my currency directly.
Gotcha.
They said there's
you
no
get hit
conversion
double.
from rupees to their currency. So I had to convert it to dollars, pay some conversion charges, and then dollars to their currency. So it's like I'm paying twice.
Double
so
charge.
It's like very different. It's very, very annoying.
That sucks.
It's very, very annoying.
Well, I can't believe this, but you are definitely absolutely a pioneer. You're pushing the boundaries. You're arguing with different embassies. Like this is a very cool thing. And please, if you come to New York City, please contact me. I definitely want to. Let's have a beer. Let's have a beer.
Yeah, of course. I would love to.
I'd love to.
I'm gonna be there pretty soon, my man. But from the time of this recording, at least, it'll be like 10 days. Well, I'm gonna be going through in a few days what Arpit you're going through right now, actually, right? Because you just returned back to India, and you're kind of doing the traveling around different parts of India to see people. It's kind of like what I'm about to do is go and like different parts of the U.S. to see friends and family that I haven't seen in a while. How was that return home experience for you?
Yeah, but make sure you carry your moods well. Mike, trust me, when you come back home after a long travel, there's a lot of changes. Your body and your moods, there's just too many things which will happen to you, and you start getting bored because you're not moving. You start getting into comfortable zone which you're not liking. It's a lot of withdrawals which you have to go through. So make sure you manage them well.
The travel withdrawal.
Yeah, and Mike, at least you get to be with me, and maybe I could wean you into some things.
Yeah, you're my first stopping point. So you can wean me.
And
back
Justin, what is your plan to come back to India? Are you coming to India sometime?
I would love to, and I definitely plan on it at some point. I have no immediate plans. My immediate plan is to pay for my rent every month, and then and then build up slowly build up some money to plan. I want to travel internationally next year, and I'm saving up some vacation time right now. I don't have the destination picked out. It might partially be dependent on where Mike is. So
Yeah. Come visit me. I'd also encourage you, man, go off some adventures. Like if you can take a few months off and backpack around and stuff, like yeah, come stop off. You can start off wherever I am at, probably Chiang Mai.
Yeah. Yes. I'd love to
and
go. I'd absolutely love it.
So you have a
yeah,
host
man.
here in India. I
Yeah.
would love to host you guys, man. Come,
Awesome.
come
Yeah.
over.
I'm coming back. We talked about this actually back in Krabi too. I'm coming back to India for sure. I got to see like more of the Himalayas.
Yeah.
I'm sure where you live, Delhi, is your base, and so I'm sure where I'll be heading out there. So
Very cool.
I'm gonna take you up on that offer for
Absolutely.
sure.
Well, Arpit, we've got one question for you.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a question we ask all of our guests, and I'm sure you're familiar with it, having listened to our podcast. But what is one thing that you'd like to do before you die?
The one thing which I want to do before I die is to make India travel more than how much India is traveling right now. So I've already started working towards a direction, and I want to change how people get education in India, and I feel travel is one of the very good way of educating somebody. It's it's not academics for sure, but it can easily be as effective as academics or even more effective than academics. So I want to tell more and more people in India the importance of traveling, how exotic vacations are different from traveling per se.
Right.
There's a lot of misconception about the word traveling in India. People confuse this with leisure and waste of money.
Right.
But I think it is the best use of the money. So
Gotcha.
I don't know. I want to contribute towards that cause.
That's a very
Yeah.
very noble cause. Very noble cause.
Yeah, help more Indian people travel. Yeah, it's funny because I think that's part of like some of the motivation of this show itself is like helping people to get out there, and people who want to travel, and they're not haven't done it for whatever reason, like help them get out, and if that's something that's calling to you, go out there and get it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is there a way we didn't ask you, but is there a way for people to contact you, or is there a website that you have where people can get in touch with you if they want to talk more about this with you?
No, I haven't. I've never blogged. I don't have a blog. I write for myself.
No public persona.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's like I never thought of actually about writing a blog, because when I left for traveling, it was more about my own call, and like I was looking for myself rather than
Right.
Well, I'm sure you can program up a quick website if you wanted to, and
maybe. But I'm actually going off from the digital. It's more like a detox time for me. I was just too much into a digital world for a long time. My whole world was 010101. So
Right.
It was so binary.
I can tell you, man, if travel, like long-term travel is something you want to like keep doing, the kind of work you're doing is something that you could take on the road with you, right? Like where I am now in Chiang Mai, lots of people that do this kind of stuff, like working online, and there's a lot of that kind of stuff. So hey, your skill set probably is transferable to things that you can do from a laptop or something.
Yeah.
So
that's true. That's true, actually.
Yeah.
Some food for this. I just a thought to plant in your head is that if you're doing like programming, you're doing software engineering, yeah.
Yes, so, I'm a programmer.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so I mean, like, there's so many people right here in Chiang Mai is kind of a mecca for it. In fact, of
but you know what? You remember when I told you that Thailand only gives us 15-day visa?
That's another thing. I get 30 days because I'm from the U.S., a G7 country, one of the.
And also, you can like take any number
30
of
days
time.
Without visa.
We can't take any number of times. We have to.
Another example.
We can't extend it after once, and like this. It's not that easy.
I gotcha.
Yeah, so So being a digital nomad in Chiang Mai is going to be a more difficult process. You could maybe manage it on like education visa out here if you're learning Thai language or something. That might be. Maybe I don't know how. I don't know how it works. You have a whole slew of challenges that I don't have for that.
But you know about Bhutan, right, Justin? Have you heard about this country called Bhutan?
I'm not familiar with it. No.
Okay, so it's you should Google it, man. It can easily be one of the most beautiful countries I've been to, Bhutan, and 70% of that country is a restricted land. Like nobody can visit those lands. 70% of the country is like non-reachable by tourism or anyone else, and not everyone is allowed to visit Bhutan. When you want to travel Bhutan, you have to apply to the government. They do a lucky draw, and then they take out few names, and only those people are allowed to travel the country.
Huh.
So it's like it's very tough country to travel to. But I was teaching there in Bhutan for some time, and I was teaching in one of the remotest location, and that's where I actually found out that teaching is like it's very beautiful, and education system is quite nice.
I gotcha.
So maybe I want, like, for example, how Mike got his call from Chiang Mai. I might just go back to Bhutan one day. I would love to go back to Bhutan.
Yeah, why not? Man?
Get your calling. You got your calling.
Is Bhutan the country that does the gross national happiness instead of GDP?
Yes, exactly. It's highest gross national. It's the GDP is happiness. Correct.
Yes, that's amazing. Like that's how we should rate ourselves. Not how much dollars are you making in your country. Like,
exactly.
how happy are the people? Like that's a way better measure to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, yeah, that's amazing, and we definitely talked about that in one of our more recent episodes. That's
that's right, we did. Yeah.
But I hope that you get to go back and find your Chiang Mai, because so to speak.
Find your own Chiang Mai.
Find your own Chiang Mai. That's a new phrase, Mike. That's what we're dubbing that. Find your Chiang Mai. But Arpit, it's been an absolute pleasure.
Man.
It's been
pleasure is all mine, dude. Come on.
Yes, and thank you very much, and please send your photos to us whenever you get a chance.
I will send you pictures with some details so that you can relate to the stories, and
perfect.
And my email address is arpit.2000@gmail.com, just in case you want to write me again for something.
Gotcha.
Always connect me there.
Yeah,
all right.
We'll post it up for folks who want to get in touch with you also.
Yes, please.
Yes. Well, awesome. Well, thank you again, and thanks everybody for listening to Walking the Earth podcast. This is Justin Castle signing off from New York City, New York. We'll talk to you next time. Take care. Next time on Walking the Earth podcast, Mike sits down with Sam Apicon, who is a retired Thai traveler that offers free tutoring for Farang, or foreigners. In their conversation, Sam shares his perspectives from when he was a Thai traveler and expat spending time in the United States. So, tune in next time on WTEpodcast.com. Don't forget your free audiobook at audibletrial.com/WTEpodcast. And don't forget to rate us on iTunes.